Today, we're diving into a story that feels less like a personal anecdote and more like a high-stakes social experiment. It's all about family, money, and one life-altering secret.
I want you to just take a second and really imagine it. You check a lottery ticket, kinda on a whim, and just like that, every single financial worry you have just evaporates. I mean, that's the dream, right?
But what if that dream also came with this huge, sinking feeling of dread? What if the very people you're supposed to celebrate with are the reason you can't tell a single soul?
Well, that's exactly what happened to the person at the heart of our story. We're talking about $47 million. That's the kind of money that doesn't just change your life, it puts every single relationship you've ever had under a microscope.
So let me introduce you to Cassie. She's a 34-year-old accountant, and she lives a pretty normal life. Crunches numbers, watches her budget. Then overnight, she secretly becomes the sole winner of that massive $47 million jackpot.
So why all the secrecy? Well, it really boils down to a pretty painful history. See, Cassie has always been the family's ATM, the one everyone turned to. But her generosity, it was a one-way street. It was never appreciated, almost never repaid, and frankly, it left her feeling used.
And here's the cast of characters we're dealing with. You've got the golden child sister, the brother who's always borrowing, and parents who either lecture her or just completely deflect. The only person who seems genuinely kind is her Aunt Martha, who ironically has the least to give.
So this is where things get really interesting. Before Cassie tells anyone about her winnings, she decides to do something pretty radical. She's going to run an experiment, a test, to see who in her family actually cares about her and not just her wallet.
The whole idea was this. She had to know who would have her back when she had absolutely nothing to offer. Only then would she know who to trust, now that she had, well, everything. It wasn't about revenge. It was about self-preservation. Her plan was actually pretty simple, almost scientific. Step 1, she comes up with a totally believable story. Her company went under, she lost her job, and she needs $5,000 just to cover rent and bills. Step 2, she makes the exact same plea, one-on-one, to each family member. In Step 3, she just sits back and takes notes.
But, not everyone thought this was a brilliant idea. Her best friend, Charlotte, gave her a serious warning. She was worried this whole thing would just blow up in Cassie's face and cause her way more pain. It was a huge gamble, emotionally speaking, but Cassie felt like she had to know the truth.
And the results? Wow, they were absolutely devastating. The test basically confirmed all of her worst fears, but in the middle of all that disappointment, it also revealed a little spark of hope she never saw coming.
I mean, just get this. One after another, the people she'd bailed out for years just shut her down. Her parents were busy with their new lake house. Her sister couldn't possibly help, not with the new Audi and the bathroom remodel. Her brother, Jason, the one who took $5,000, he just ghosted her. It was this perfect chorus of excuses.
So the final score was just brutal. On one side, you have this long list of rejections: mother, father, sister, brother, step-parents, the whole crew. And on the other side, just one person. One single yes in a sea of no's.
And if you look at it visually, it's even more stark. The numbers really don't lie. 8 people she asked for help gave her nothing but excuses or silence, and only one person, offered to help.
That one person was, of course, Aunt Martha. And she didn't just offer some kind words, no, she offered $3,000, which Cassie later found out was pretty much every last penny of her savings. And she did this while quietly facing her own mounting medical bills.
And this one act of pure, selfless generosity, it changed everything. The experiment stopped being about who failed the test. It became about what Cassie could learn from the one person who passed it with flying colors.
When Cassie finally came clean about the money and the experiment, her Aunt Martha wasn't even mad. Instead, she shared this little piece of wisdom that is just perfect. She said, "Money doesn't just reveal who others truly are. It reveals who we are too." And that was the real light bulb moment for Cassie. She realized the test was never really about figuring out who to give money to. It was about figuring out who deserved her most precious assets: her time, her energy, and her love.
So, armed with this really painful but powerful new clarity, Cassie started to build a completely new life. This time, it wasn't going to be built on guilt or obligation, but on real connection and real purpose.
And if you fast forward just 1 year, her life is unrecognizable. She quit that soul-crushing accounting job.
She started a nonprofit to help lonely elderly people, inspired by her aunt. She bought herself a nice, modest home, and she bought a brand new, fully accessible house for Aunt Martha. And maybe most importantly, she finally set some real healthy boundaries with everyone else.
What's really fascinating, though, is that she didn't just cut her family off completely. When a true crisis hit, like her dad's unexpected medical bills, she stepped in. She paid for it, but she did it anonymously. She separated the act of helping from the toxic relationship that came with it.
So in the end, that lottery ticket gave Cassie something so much more valuable than $47 million. It gave her the clarity to discover a completely different kind of wealth, the kind that comes from peace of mind, having a purpose, and knowing who your real connections are.
And that kind of leaves us all with a pretty big question to think about, doesn't it? Forget about money for a second. Who are the people in your life that would actually show up for you if things got tough, no matter what? Because knowing the answer to that, well, that's a kind of wealth all on its own.